All right, well, it's 3:01, so we'll go ahead and get started so that we can jump in and let Mark talk us through Compass and all the things that are changing with our pension program. Most of you probably have met Mark. Mark, do you see any strangers on this call?
I think I've met just about everybody here at some point or another.
Okay. All right. Well, this is Mark Hagewood, our new. I still call him new. He's been there a little over a year. Been in there as long as I've been in this role. So been the treasurer and working with lots of different things. And one of the things he works with, of course, is Compass and all things Westpath. And so he's gotten to go to Westpath several times already and be in workshops with them. So he brings a wealth of knowledge to us. And, part of what I told him, I said, we just need to call this meeting and start conversations about Compass because, in January 1, 2026, our whole program changes. And so I want to say that over and over and over again to you guys, so you can pay attention to that and we can help plan and so you can plan for your family and do that well so that when you get ready to retire, you won't see a big impact. And so if you begin to plan on that now and work toward it, it makes it a lot easier. So, all right, well, I'll say a prayer and then we'll turn it over to Mark and let him lead us through this presentation about Compass and tell us about all the things that are changing for us. So let's pray. Gracious God, we do give you thanks for today. We give you thanks for the fact that we have pension programs and ways to care for us in retirement. We know that our program is changing. And so we pray that Mark will be able to lead us through some of the changes, help us know how that will impact us and our families. And then we can begin to plan for the future. So God, we just pray that you'll guide us in this moment, that you'll help us talk through this and that you will give us the wisdom that we need. Oh God, we just pray that you'll lead us in all that we do. For it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen. All right, take it away, Mark.
All right. Thank you, BJ. It's so good to be with you all this afternoon to talk to you about retirement. And I don't think anybody in this call is probably anywhere close to retirement, but it's good that you're going ahead and thinking about that. So I want to share a little bit about the Compass plan. You've heard some about it from Westpath directly. You heard about it at annual conference. If you were following along with general conference last year, you heard about it there as well. But as BJ said, as we get closer to January 1, it's always good to just do a little refresher on the key points of Compass. And also I'll leave some time at the end so that if you have questions specifically about how this is going to affect you and your compensation and all the matching pieces and all the ins and outs, I'll be happy to answer those. If I get stumped, I'll be glad to reach out to Westpath or direct you to some Westpath people. I will say up front, I don't know everything, right? I love a little bit of intellectual humility, right? But I will tell you what I know, share what I know, and we'll get through this together. So I do have a presentation, so I'm going to share my screen as we go through this. But feel free to stop me as we're going through. If you have questions, you don't have to wait till the end. Just shout them out and we'll get through them. So let's talk a little bit about Compass. So a couple of key things to know is for any active clergy, you all are active clergy, any benefits that you have earned under any of the legacy plans. I don't think there's anybody here old enough to have been a clergy person prior to 1982. There's only a handful of those who are still active. But if you did earn benefits in the pre-82 plan or the MPP, the Ministerial Pension Plan, or the CRISP, Clergy Retirement Security Plan, if you earned benefits in any of those plans, none of those benefits you've earned are going away. They're still there. You just won't be accruing new benefits under these plans. It'll basically just freeze as of December 31st of 2025. So if you have a pension or annuity that you've earned some in, you'll still get that when you retire. And a lot of those are calculated based on years of service. So it'll be based on the years of service between when you were first eligible for the plan and through the end of 2025. So you're not losing any benefits you've already earned. For our retired clergy, there's really no impact. They're already receiving their benefits. Nothing's going to change for them. So if you have friends who are retired and are wondering what this means, really doesn't affect anybody who is already retired and receiving those benefits. And then in terms of eligibility, the eligibility is the same for Compass as it was for the CRSP or the CRISP plan. And so that is decided by conference. And so in the Tennessee Western Kentucky Conference, this is full-time clergy that are eligible for this. Part-time clergy will still be under the old UMPIP, United Methodist Personal Investment Plan. So this is just for full-time clergy. So let's talk a little bit about what the Compass plan is. I'm going to share a video with you, and let me know if you can't hear. We'll see if we can adjust the settings. This is about a 3-minute video here. But it really hits the highlights of the pieces that make up Compass, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail about those.
The United Methodist Church is launching a new retirement plan for U.S. clergy, Compass. If you're already retired or retiring in 2025, Compass won't change your benefits. For active clergy, benefits earned through earlier UMC plans remain. Starting January 1, new benefits will be earned through Compass. Compass gives UMC clergy greater flexibility to save for retirement while ensuring meaningful income for both current and future clergy, all in a way that remains affordable for annual conferences and local churches. Compass is a defined contribution or DC plan, unlike a pension or DB plan, where payments end after you or your spouse pass away. A DC plan like Compass is your personal account. It grows through investments and contributions, and any remaining balance can go to family, charity, or a beneficiary of your choice. Compass offers the same eligibility options as the plan it replaces. Saving for retirement is a shared responsibility. Both the UMC and clergy contribute to Compass. Clergy contribute a percentage of their compensation. The UMC makes 3 contributions: a flat dollar amount contribution, 3% of clergy's plan compensation, and a dollar-for-dollar match up to 4% of compensation. Contributing at least 4% is important for reaching financial goals for retirement. Plus, it maximizes the UMC match. Starting early is key for optimizing your retirement savings. Just like the mustard seed parable, small contributions grow over time. Contributing 4% may be easier than you realize. For example, 4% of a $60,000 salary is less than $50 per week. In fact, over 50% of clergy contribute 4% or more of their compensation. Compass has automatic features like auto escalation, which increases contributions annually. Compass has special features to help you save for retirement. If you're in a parsonage, your housing counts as part of your compensation. With Compass, the parsonage value increases from 25% to 35%. So the UMC's percentage-based contributions are based on higher overall compensation. That means more money from the UMC goes into your Compass account each month. If you have a housing allowance, Compass doesn't change how plan compensation is defined. And why should you choose between paying off student loans and saving for retirement? With Compass, qualified student loan payments will count toward earning the 4% matching UMC contribution. Many of us worry about outliving our savings. With the award-winning Life Stage Retirement Income Program, Compass helps ensure clergy have an income stream throughout their retirement lifetime. Life Stage Retirement Income is required for the UMC's Compass contributions. It's optional for your own Compass contributions and your CRSP DC account. Life Stage Retirement Income also includes optional helpful features. Social Security Bridge allows you to use your account balance early, so you can receive an increased monthly Social Security benefit by applying later. And Longevity Income Protection provides guaranteed annuity payments starting at age 80. Are you ready to chart your retirement direction? Start by contributing at least 4% to earn the full UMC match. Compass is coming January 1, 2026. Build your future without sacrificing your present. Start charting your course today.
All right, so let's go back over some of the key points from that video. Make sure you understand how this plan works and how it's different from what you've been accruing. So there are three pieces of this plan that go into your account. So the first is a flat $150 per month. The second piece is 3% of your compensation. And the third piece is the matching piece. Up to 4% of your compensation will be matched. So dollar for dollar, the church matches what you put in. If you put in 1% of your salary, the church puts in 1% on top of the 3% and the $150 per month. So those are the 3 points that are 3 pieces that your employer or the church puts in to your retirement account. A couple of things to note: that $150 per month, that will increase by 2% a year in $5 increments. So that's not 150 a month, 20 years from now. That is trying to keep pace at least somewhat with inflation there. And then to figure the compensation, that 3%, as they mentioned, that's your total compensation. So if you're in a parsonage, you would take your cash compensation and add another 35% to that. Then that total, you get 3% in the first piece and up to 4% in the matching. If you're not in a parsonage and all of your salary is cash, then it's just 3% of that total for the non-matching piece and 4% for the matching piece of that. So one of the pieces about Compass is that really it's a partnership, and you will see that this reflects how most employers in the US work with retirement. The idea of a defined benefit, you work, you're going to get X number of dollars when you retire, no matter what. And it's all provided by your employer. That's really just gone to the wayside. It really is a partnership where you put in money, your employer, the church puts in money, and together that funds your retirement. So we're really looking and encouraging all of our clergy to put in that 4% so that they get the full match. If you can't do 4%, if you're in a place where that's just not feasible in your current economic situation, there is a waiver form and you can put in less than 4%. You do lose out on some of the match there, so we certainly discourage you from doing less than 4%, but we know that there are some situations where that's just not going to happen. So you can put in for less than 4%. And this is another plug here that Westpath does provide financial planning services at no cost to you. So if you're struggling to get to that 4% and just need a little bit of help to talk through your financial situation, to think about your budget, to think about your allocations, EY Financial Planning is there. That's a no-cost service to you provided by Westpath. And I've used them before. I've called them and talked about our financial situation, and they're not trying to sell you anything. This is not a financial planner who has products to say, well, you just need to invest in this, and I'm going to get my percentage fee off the top. They really are there solely to help you. I think I saw something pop up in the chat, so let me see if I can.
Stephen Sauls had a question. He said,
Sure.
These percentages are based on our actual compensation package and not denominational average compensation. Right.
That is correct. It's your actual compensation. The previous plans, your benefits were based on those denominational averages. These plans are based on what you actually make. And that's part of the reason they did this in 3 parts. If they did only a percentage based on what you actually made, then it really disincentivizes and disadvantages those who are on the lower end of the pay scale. So that's why that $150 a month is in there. No matter what you make, even if you're making minimum comp, you're going to get that $150. So that helps equalize the contributions a little bit for the lower paid employees. But yes, that was a good question. All right. So let's go to some of the plan features that should help you. As I mentioned, if you are in a parsonage, they used to calculate the parsonage at 25% of your compensation. And what Westpath realized is that's not really a realistic number anymore. We know that housing is very expensive and is raising, housing prices and rent and things have increased much faster than salaries have. So they're using 35% as the number now. So when you're calculating these 3% numbers and the 4% match, it's going to be your salary plus 35% if you're in a parsonage. There's also the student loan provision, which is great if you are carrying some debt from your undergrad or seminary degree that you're still making payments on. We don't want you to be in a situation where you just miss out on that match because you're having to make those student loan payments. So if you are making student loan payments, that can qualify you to get the 4% match if you're spending 4% of your salary on student loan payments. You'll have to submit a form to Westpath at the end of the year saying, hey, I paid this much in student loan payments, and then they will add that matching portion up to 4%. So you're not actually putting your own money into Compass, but you are still eligible for the match if you're making student loan payments. Now, it might be a combination. If your student loan payments are only equal to 2% of your salary, maybe you want to put in 2%, and that way you'll get the full 4% match from the employer. Two features that are also here to help people who sometimes just don't think about retirement, right? They just kind of put it on autopilot, or they forget to enroll, or that sort of thing, is automatic enrollment and automatic escalation. Automatic enrollment means every clergy person who is eligible is going to be enrolled on January 1 at that 4% rate, unless you're already contributing more than 4%, in which case your current percentage will continue on. Or you fill out the waiver form that says, I'm not going to do the 4%, or I only want to do 3%, or I'm not putting in anything. Those are options there. But if you don't do anything and you're contributing less than 4% now, you're automatically going to be enrolled in 4%. Then beginning January 1, 2027, you'll see an auto escalation. What that means is if you're at 4% in 2026, you're going to be auto escalated to 5% in 2027, and then 6% in 2028. So each year, your part will go up by 1%. This is a way to encourage you as you get further along in your career to put more and more aside for your retirement. Now, that does cap at 10%. So if you start at 4, once you get to 10%, it's going to stay at 10%. And again, these features are only there if you don't do anything. It doesn't mean you have to do them. So if you want to escalate faster than that, if you want to go from 4% to 6% to 9% to 15%, you can certainly do that. Or if you want to opt out of the escalation altogether and say, I'm going to enroll at 4%, but I don't want to go up to 5% in 2027, you can opt out of that piece as well. But for those who don't do anything, that's going to be the path that it takes. There's also two other features that aren't really new, but just as a reminder on how they work. One is the life stage investment management. Basically, Westpath asks you about your comfort level with risk in the market, and your age, how many years you have left until retirement, and it manages your portfolio appropriate to your risk tolerance level and to your age. And so what that means is that you'll have more in stocks, maybe at the early part of your career, where it has a longer chance to grow bigger, but there may be some ups and downs. And as you get closer and closer to retirement, it'll move more towards bonds and short-term interest things, so that the bottom doesn't fall out of the market the year you retire and you lose everything. So it sort of manages that automatically to maximize growth in the early part of your career, minimize risk as you get closer to retirement. Life stage retirement income is a similar feature for taking money out. It's basically looking at your account and helping you decide how much you can take out and still preserve enough for the remainder of your life. So that's how the life stage retirement income piece works as well. There's a lot of resources available on the Westpath website about Compass. There's more videos like the one I just showed you. There's some PDFs you can download and read. So if you go to westpath.org/r/compass, you can find all that information. You can also scan that QR code, and I'll be happy to send this PowerPoint out to BJ and Chris and have them distribute that for those of you who have questions and want to look back at this. I've got a few other things to share that aren't necessarily Compass related, but do have to do with direct billing and some other issues coming up from my office. But I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute and see if there's any questions specifically about Compass before I go on to the other pieces.
Hey, Mark, it's Kristen.
Hey, Kristen.
I was having some internet issues, probably because I was trying to sit outside and do this.
It's a nice day.
So I came inside. But can you, by chance, just show me the screen one more time, the slide of the 150 plus the 3 plus the 4%? I just want to take a little screenshot of that because that's the part I think probably the most important part.
Exactly. Let me get back to that slide and then I'll share that again. Go to share. Here we go. Yeah, 150 per month, 3% what we call non-matching or unconditional. So no matter what, that's going in. And then the dollar for dollar matching up to 4% of compensation.
Mark, you might explain how that compares to what we've been doing in the CRISP.
So I will say, and Westpath will tell you this too, this is probably going to be a little less generous plan than you've had because your former plan was a defined benefit, which is you're guaranteed to get X amount of dollars. And that was based on, as Stephen pointed out, the denominational average compensation, right? They were looking at clergy all over and saying, okay, how many years have you served and what's the average compensation? And so you're going to get this X dollar amount. And that's how it was figured out. This is a defined contribution plan, or DC. Basically, it means money is going into the pot, and however much money you have in that pot when you retire is the money that you have. And so it better reflects what the market has done over your career. So the downside, I think, to that, and I think it's fair to say, is that there's not a guarantee, right? If the market does really, really poorly for 30 years, it's not going to. But if it were, there's not going to be a lot of money there, right? And there's no guarantee that you're going to get X number of dollars. The flip side of that is this is your account. This is your money. And what that means is that if there is money left in that account, when you go on to glory, then that money is a part of your estate. If you want to leave it to the church, if you want to leave it to your family, if you want to leave it to a charity of your choice, that money is still there. Under the old plan, when you passed away, the benefits ended. That's all there was. So it's a different way of thinking about retirement, rather than getting a guaranteed amount versus having an account that you contribute to and your employer contributes to. And again, part of the reason for that change is just the sustainability of the plan. With disaffiliation, with smaller numbers, it was harder for the United Methodist Church to guarantee a certain dollar amount to all of its retired clergy. We don't have the members per clergy that we used to. Westpath has shown some charts in that way. So we're trying to figure out a way that would still provide for you in retirement, but was financially sustainable in the long term. So good question, Stephen. Who contributes these amounts? The $150 a month, which is $1,800 a year, the 3% compensation, and the 4% match. So under the plan design, this would be billed to the local church. This would just be like their crisp contribution that they've paid in the past. That's the way the plan is designed. However, you all are very fortunate to be serving in the Tennessee Western Kentucky Conference of the United Methodist Church, and that you have a wonderful and generous and thoughtful board of pensions who has stewarded pension reserves for many, many years to make sure that we have plenty of money to fund this defined benefit piece. And now we're sitting on all these reserves and the defined benefit piece is going away, so we don't have this liability. So the Board of Pensions voted that for 2026, they were going to pay those three pieces. They're going to pay the $150 per month, the 3% of compensation, and up to the 4% match. So your local church will not be billed in 2026 for these features. The only thing your local church will be billed for next year will be the 3% of your compensation for the clergy protection plan. That's sort of like a life insurance and disability insurance piece. And then whatever health premiums that you've elected. But they will not, the local churches in 2026 will not be billed these pieces. They'll be paid out of pension reserves and pension earnings. So that's a great question. Any other questions about Compass?
But otherwise, Mark, then the church would be billed for those three things.
Yeah. So if the Board of Pensions had not done that, then that full amount would have been billed to the local church. So the question Chris asked is, are we pretty sure the pension holiday will end for 2027? Ultimately, that's up to the Board of Pensions. I was just on the call with the chair of the Board of Pensions for about an hour this afternoon. And I think it's fair to say he would like to see that pension holiday continue. Ultimately, that's a board decision. It's not a chair decision. It's not a me decision. It's not a John Pearson CFA decision. It is a Board of Pensions decision. But we're doing some good analysis on our reserves. We're looking at what the market's doing. We're looking at how that money is invested. We're trying to make good investment decisions. And I think there's a genuine desire from the Board of Pensions to continue helping local churches. Now, if we have a sudden recession or, heaven forbid, a depression next year and the market just absolutely crashes, which is where all these pension reserves are right now, the pension holiday may not be there in 27, or it may be only a partial holiday rather than a full holiday. But we're sort of weighing that. We're trying to look ahead. We're trying to even see if could we make a commitment to a pension holiday for 2 years at a time. That's something we've had some discussion about. So I can't guarantee anything at this point, except that I've sat in the room with the Board of Pensions, and they have a deep heart for helping the local church. So that's what I would say about that. Any other questions about that? If not, I want to touch on just a few other little things in our office. And so let me go back to sharing my screen. This is just sort of reiterating what I said about the direct billing cost for 2026. So we will bill the church for your part of Compass. So if you're putting that 4% in, if you didn't waive, that will be on the direct bill. That comes out of your salary. Any dental premium, vision premium, or HSA contribution that you're putting in as a clergy person, that will be billed to the local church to come, that's withheld from your paycheck and just sent to us. And then any HealthFlex premium contributions. If you choose something other than the lowest tier plan, there's a portion of the health insurance premium that you pay. That's the difference between the lowest plan and whichever of the other plans that you choose. And as I mentioned, the church will be billed 3% for that clergy protection plan, the CPP. If you elect to get one of the Health Flex plans, the church will be billed $1,385 a month for that. No matter which plan you choose, the church pays that much. And no matter whether it's just you or you and your spouse or you and your whole family, the church bill is the same on that. But as I said, the church will not be billed in 2026 for the Compass contribution, $0 thanks to the Board of Pensions. Another thing I want to make you aware of, if you haven't heard, Melinda Parker has retired as our Assistant Benefits Officer. She was with the conference for 28 years, the Legacy Tennessee Conference, and then the TWK. And so we're doing some reorganization in the Office of Administrative Services. Many of you know Claire Wilson. She has been the controller and assistant treasurer, but she's actually moving over to the benefits side of things. So if you have questions about Compass or your conference health insurance or your clergy compensation form, Claire is the person to reach out to. We also have a new email address, administrativeservices@twkumc.org. So if you have a question that you know is kind of related to administrative things, but you don't know who to send it to that. Claire, Alice, who is our HR person, myself, and hopefully when we hire a new controller, all four of us will see that email and someone will be back to you with that. The last thing I want to share with you is just some important dates that are upcoming. Beginning next week, October 29th, is annual election for HealthFlex. This is where you choose your health plan. You choose if you want dental or vision, how much money you want to put in your HSA account. So you've got about 2 weeks to go with that, to pick your plan there. You'll be getting more information from Westpath and from Claire reminding you how to actually sign up for that. We do have the Alex tool again this year. So if you need help deciding which of the health plans is probably the best plan for you, you can go and use that Alex tool. One of the neat things about it this year is it actually connects to your health insurance if you're currently enrolled in HealthFlex, and it pulls how much you've spent this year, which helps you make a decision about making sure you're choosing the right plan for next year. As we mentioned, January 1, 2026, that's when Compass begins. January 9th is the last day to pay the 2025 connectional commitments. So appreciate always when churches make their payments to the connectional commitment. That helps us do great ministry in camp and retreat, and in campus ministry, in disaster recovery, in church and society. We have so many things that we do as a conference, and we're able to do that because each of your churches contributes to the connectional commitments. And so I know some of you kind of wait until you see what comes in right at the end of the December before making your final payment, but just know that January 9th will be the last day to make that 2025 payment. And then the last date I will share with you is February 2nd. I know that feels like a long time away, but that will be the last day to submit your statistical reports, telling us how many people have you baptized and how many people have joined your church and how much money have you collected in 2025. So that all of that information is very important to us as we look at the whole of TWK, as we plan for budgets for the next year. And so February 2nd, and you'll be hearing more of that information from Claire in our office as we get closer to those dates, but I wanted to go ahead and share those with you. So anything else about this other information or anything that popped up in your head about Compass that you're still not clear about?
I have a question, Mark.
Sure.
So this is a 403B plan, correct? So
It is.
we can contribute under IRS stipulations. I think 26 it says is 24,500 annually.
Yes. Yes.
The employer matches and contributions are on top of that. That doesn't count
That's
towards
correct.
our. Okay, just wanted to make sure I was clear.
Yep. Yep. And I will always preface answers to that with always consult your tax advisor and your own financial advisor. I am not a tax lawyer, but yes, that is my understanding that that's your personal contribution, not the employer contribution limits for those accounts.
And then once you get past 50, you can put in even more to catch up.
That's right.
if you
There's some
didn't-
catch-up contributions
Yeah.
available if you need to add a little bit more. So. All right. Well, that's all I have. I appreciate you giving me a half hour of your Monday afternoon, and hopefully this was helpful to you. Like I said, I'll send these slides to BJ and Chris and have them send those out to you. And if other questions come to mind after today, feel free to email me or Claire or that administrative services email address, and we will answer your questions.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Hope to see some of you
you.
in the morning, and I'll see David. I'll see you tomorrow night instead of in the morning.